Hi, welcome.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
How do I say your first name?
It's Aradhana.
Aradhana. Okay, is that like your mom or dad's
Yeah, my mom.
name? Perfect.
Cool. Good
Perfect.
evening, everybody. This is Billy Glisson with Powercore 360. Welcome to our weekly question and answer session for volleyball. Tonight, I'm here with Kelly. Kelly's a physical therapist, runs all of our clinics. Kelly, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fiesler. As Billy already said, I am the director of the volleyball 8-hour power hitting clinics for Powercore 360. I'm a physical therapist with over 30 years of practice experience working in the sports medicine world, working with athletes, and really focusing on biomechanics for athletes.
Cool. And so, Kelly, we have on a athlete that just jumped on tonight. Maybe we can put her up on screen and
Sure.
I bet she's got a question. Maybe she has a question. Let's see if we can address that first before we get into our regularly scheduled topics.
Perfect. So, do you have a question for us tonight?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay, what brings you here? Why'd you jump on tonight?
I wanted to know more about like the mechanics of like arm swing and like injury prevention and all that.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Well, you're in the right place.
Cool. So I'm going to take about another 20 seconds. I'm going to set up my iPad so we can see that. Kelly, can you see my iPad?
I can.
Cool. Awesome. So what we're going to jump in on tonight, we're going to talk about tension in the volleyball arm swing, right? And so first and foremost, or first, true or false question, Miss Fiesler, is tension in the arm swing good or bad? True or false?
Uh, well, you asked me good or bad, true or false. So I'm going to say it's bad.
Okay, cool. And why do you say that?
Because if you have tension in your arm as you go to hit the ball, you're actually going to decrease the speed at which your arm can go through its swing, which then affects the ball speed.
Very nice, cool. And that's really kind of what we want to talk about. And specifically, we might go through some of what we call our volleyball arm swing one, two, threes. But the thing I really want to focus on tonight is what's in the circle on screen. Can you see that? That's number 44. You know her as Ella, right? This is
Yeah.
Ella and Emery. These are both juniors in high school. Both have already signed commitments to be Division One hitters. One is an outside, Ella's a middle. But we're going to address what we see in that elbow position as she's tossing to herself. Kelly, you run the clinics. You were in Chicago last weekend. I was in Windsor, Colorado at a clinic. I would tell you that 99%, if not 100% of the hitters there, of the 60 or 70 or 80 hitters I saw, set up to toss themselves, and that was the exact elbow position they were in Chicago. Is that anything you saw?
Yeah. Across the board, we saw probably 98, 99% of the athletes had that tight elbow position.
Cool. So while everybody, I don't know if this is something that's actually taught or if by just like instinct or something, volleyball hitters do this, the young ones do, but to clear the I guess to clarify here, if you do this, you're losing arm speed. You're not going to hit the ball as hard, even though that may have been taught. It's not the right thing to do with your arm. And so I think we're going to take you guys through tonight a little discovery session for right-handed hitters, right? So here we are. If we draw back and we turn our chest to the right sideline, right? That's step one in the mechanics. We've said that the arm goes with the turn of the shoulders. The arm doesn't come back independent of the turn of the chest and shoulders. It comes back, but here's the question for anybody out there. What angle should the hitting arm elbow be at as we go back and what we call our arm swing number one position as you open up, right? Your chest to the right sideline. What angle should that right elbow be at? Kelly, give him an answer.
90 degrees elbow bend.
90 degrees elbow bend. Okay, cool. And I'll take this forward. We'll go on the iPad here a little bit and we'll start to move these guys forward a little bit. And This was these two girls' first day I ever worked with them when they were 13. This isn't necessarily what we're telling you we want you to do. This is what they did the first day I saw them, and these were some of the first swings they were taking in the product, right? So you watch both of them kind of do the same thing. You see Emery do the same thing. Elbow comes up. The elbow bend is inside of 90 degrees. They toss it, and they're already up into this position for us. We call this the two position. They've already skipped the one position. The one position is, once again, if everybody's watching me, if you turn your chest and shoulders to the right sideline, this right forearm here, the underneath of the forearm, should be parallel to the ground, looking at the ground. I shouldn't be starting my swing up here in this position. So I rotate, I open the number one position, elbows at 90 degrees. And then nice and easy with the second step of our arm swing, one, two, threes. The arm comes up, the shoulder goes up to what we call external rotation. If you're a right-handed hitter, that means your right hand is coming somewhere up over here, right? Depending on how much mobility you have in your shoulder, you're somewhere in here, right? That's the two position. Elbow position, Kelly, in the two position. What's the elbow angle?
90 degrees, elbow
Still 90
bend.
degrees, right? Even though, once again, the young hitters out there, just like Emery, just like Ella when they were 13, and whether they're 13 or 18, everybody tends to start here. You're losing arm speed, and in a second, we'll talk about why if anybody wants to know any of the detail. All right, the three, we go from one, we go to two, so that's external shoulder rotation for the hitting arm, and the three, the chest starts to turn, the elbow starts to come up by the ear, and look at my elbow angle all of a sudden, right? If you can see that, is my elbow comes up into the air. What happens now, Kelly, to the angle of my hitting arm elbow as my elbow starts to come up to the ear next?
It's you've got greater flexion or more bend in it.
Yeah, right. So now we've got this big bend. And what this big bend does for everybody out there, here's the science side in a really simple sense. You got a muscle underneath your upper arm on the back right here. It's called your tricep, right? When your arm comes up in the swing as you're going to bring the elbow up into next to the ear right before contact, if this elbow angle changes, if we go from a 90-degree bend and we bend it relatively quickly, which would happen in the arm swing, it stretches this muscle called the tricep. When that happens, the tricep on its own will immediately, reflexively, automatically, whatever term you want to throw at it, will contract forcibly strong without any conscious thought. So it's not like you're an athlete out there and you're trying to figure out how to do all this stuff. You bring it up. If you bring it up late, and as you bring your elbow up, if you start to almost take your thumb down towards your shoulder, that stretches the tricep. And what's going to happen is as your chest turns, then that tricep is going to shorten. It's going to extend the elbow. Here's your high elbow. Here's your high, fast hand getting up to the ball, right? This tricep is an extremely powerful muscle if you don't preload it in this bent position that's inside a 90-degree angle too soon. When you go here and come up, you're still using the tricep, but you're missing this stretch. And then for the technical geeks out there, right, in the training world, this is the stretch shortening cycle, right? It's taking the muscle fibers in here, the sensors in the nervous system, and it's making them fire fast. If you do that, male, female, young, old, you will hit the ball immediately harder, but you have to teach yourself and discipline yourself, even on tosses. When you toss the ball, keep the elbow at 90 degrees. As you go from the one position and you toss, and you're tossing the ball up, your arm's going up into the two, elbow still at 90 degrees. Then as the elbow starts to come up to go to contact, we want to pull that thumb on the hitting arm down towards the shoulder to get that quick stretch in the tricep. It is a fastest way to get more arm speed from your arm. We're not using the chest and we're using the chest and shoulder, but we're not targeting. We're not fixed and focused and discussing that right now. We're really just concentrating on the tricep to give you more immediate arm speed, if that makes sense. Kelly, what am I missing there in simple terms?
Really nothing. I think the key factor is that when that elbow is open more at 90 degrees, there's less tension throughout the entire arm and shoulder. It also allows you to have better mobility of the shoulder, right? And the arm as you go through the throwing motion. So that's a key point too.
And we started this off by talking about tension. Even though we're bringing the arm up at 90 degrees, elbow at 90 degrees, and in the one and in the two, the arm needs to be super relaxed here because if the muscles in the arm are tense, tricep, bicep, chest, deltoid, shoulder, internal rotators, what doesn't matter. All those muscles, if they're tense, your arm's going to move slower than if they're relaxed and your body turns, and now you create whip. You can create speed if those muscles are relaxed, right? Okay, with that being said, fast forward, this is Ella about a year ago, right? This was when she was probably a sophomore in high school, 2 or 3 years after what you just saw initially. This is her going through some training with us. You look at her elbow, right? So this is her, let's talk about actually her chest. For a right-handed hitter, what did we say the first? We say it every week, right? Step one to hit the ball harder and not destroy your shoulder or your back or something else is to turn your chest as a right-handed hitter to the right sideline. She's going through an arm speed training program with us here this day, right? Guess where she's got her chest pointed? To the right sideline. If you look at her arm, right? Let me put some arrows on the screen here, right? And if you look at her throwing arm, because she's throwing, is she inside 90 degrees like she was when she was 13? No, because we've trained her out of it. She's trained at this point in time a couple years with me, and she knows it's automatic now. She didn't have to think about it. Get the elbow to 90 degrees. She's actually a little bit bigger than 90 degrees, just fine. Look at her throwing arm wrist. Does it look tense, like I'm going to hit a floater with a stiff wrist and stiff fingers? No, her wrist is relaxed, her hands relaxed. It's actually going forward and flexing a little bit, right? It's relaxed, right? So if you can't see that, there's a wrist angle, right? If you can see that. All right, a couple of other things since we're on here. Let's talk about something else here. Let me clear this off of there. This is an angle we often talk about, right? And we say that the safest, best, healthy position to create arm speed, to hit harder, and tolerate the torque on the shoulder, right? That's created is to keep your elbow in line with your shoulder line, right? So that blue line goes kind of through her hand, through her shoulders, and everything's pretty well lined up there. Doesn't have to be exact, doesn't have to be perfect, but that's much better than where she was, when we saw her the first time when she's 13. But look at the elbow angle, right? 90-degree angle. Now let's move her forward a little bit as she goes to throw here. She goes to throw, a couple of things happen. The best world-class hitters in the world, you're going to see what we call hip and shoulder separation in a lot of sports. Look at the belly button goes from right antenna. It starts turning towards the middle of the chest and ultimately towards the left antenna. But look at her chest still pointing over towards the right sideline. That creates hip and shoulder separation. In other words, it takes these abdominal muscles that are stretching through here, it stretches them. And the same thing we're talking about happening at the tricep, it's happening at the abdominal muscles, right? That's the stretch shortening cycle that's happening there. Okay, we're back to the arm because we're talking about arm mechanics. Step number one is she comes back. Step number two for her arm action number two is her right shoulder goes up, hand up into external rotation. Here's what's really cool. Once again, you see this in world-class hitters, right? The belly button's going from right to left as the arm is going into end range external rotation. You can see her arm even going back, right shoulder back into external rotation. So the hip turns right to left, the arm comes back. That's like a classic thing you see in any overhand throwing or hitting sport. That's what happens, right? This is a 15 or 16-year-old athlete that's learned how to do that, right? Okay, the final part of this now. Remember, we're really talking about the elbow here as the elbow comes up towards the ear. Now, this is throwing. Now, let's talk about something here. Kelly, is that a great angle for her to hit a volleyball with?
No.
No. And what are you talking about here? And I'm going to agree with you because when I look at this video, I'm going to draw a line on here. Again, let me give you a different color. Here's this line once again. There's the shoulder angle. Now it's changed. The arm, the upper arm, the throwing upper arm is in line with that. Kelly, is that a really good angle to throw a ball with in terms of the health of your throwing arm shoulder?
I like the angle that she has, but from a volleyball
Yeah, no, no,
perspective.
hang
Okay,
on, hang on.
okay.
Answer the question. Is this a good position for a throwing movement for the throwing arm or hitting arm to be in? The humerus in
Yes.
relation to the shoulders, right? That's
Yes,
like
I
the
love that
ideal
straight line.
position, right?
Yes,
Cool.
it's perfect.
So it's a great position when we're in line like that, right? And
Yes,
we're
for
not
sure.
saying that's what we're going to end up with a volleyball player, but remember, we're throwing here, and we're using a throwing activity with balls to create arm speed, but we're reinforcing some pretty good mechanics here to use your whole body, take a step, turn your hips, turn your chest, create separation, and then create arm speed. And then actually, guess what? Let her body slow down, her spine, her shoulder. Ooh, what's that right hand going to the left hip for? Because in throwing, right, the mechanics of the body, the muscles that slow the arm down, the shoulder blade, the spine, that right hand goes to the left hip. A lot of volleyball coaches don't like that because old school volleyball says the hand never crosses, the midline of the body. Well, it does. Every major league pitcher that's throwing any kind of velocity, right? And 85, 90, 95, 100, 100 plus, every one of their arms does that. And that's how you slow the scapula, the arm down, and the spine down. That's a really good position to do that. Now, Kelly, back to where you wanted to go.
Mhm.
What were you going to say in terms of a volleyball hitting? But remember, she's not hitting, she's throwing right now. They're two
Right.
different tasks.
Right. Yeah. So even in the volleyball swing, that angle that she has of her throwing arm right now is great. She's got, she went from her um right shoulder being higher and now, excuse me, am I backwards? She went from her
Left shoulder being higher.
left, thank you. Left shoulder being higher to now you can see she's tilted the opposite direction with her left shoulder lower, but she still has that beautiful shoulder line happening. The difference would be in volleyball, we'd want that elbow to come up towards her ear as she goes to swing through the ball right before contact. So that
Because
is the
if
thing I
she
would change.
doesn't, if you
She's
just threw balls, let me ask this, if you
sure.
just threw balls, the movement pattern for the throwing arm and shoulder that are going to be created, if she was a left side hitter, hitting on the left side, what might she do if her arm didn't come up closer to the ear? What's the arm action? What's the resulting ball flight going to maybe be for a right-handed hitter on the left side of the court? What are they going to do with that ball oftentimes?
Well, at this angle, she's going to tape or hit it into the block.
Yeah, but assume the
Or
ball's going over the net. Where's it going on the other side of the court?
uh
Out of bounds.
out of bounds to the
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
to her left, but the defender's right side, right? Because the rotation of the body goes from right to left, and this hand and arm, unless they have done what we've taught them to do, is take your hand straight to the target. Then that turn of the arm, instead of going where the ball wants to go, you can see here into the tarp, it may go towards the left. It may pull out of bounds.
Hmm.
So Kelly, let's change the picture. Let's show somebody else here. Let's show someone else that shows like a really good hitter, right? Let me spell this correctly so I can pull this up. A lot of people know who this is. This is Matt Anderson for the USA. He's like one of the best hitters in the world mechanically that we use. And so let's look at his position. First of all, he's in the position where his chest is open to the right sideline. Check that box. Elbow and his hitting arm elbow is at what angle, Kelly? And this is the one position.
90 degrees.
90 degrees. Cool. Now watch this. As he goes up to start to go to the two position. Okay, he goes up
Nice.
into external rotation. What's the elbow angle?
It's again 90 degrees. Looks
What
great.
is his wrist angle?
It's
Relax.
real
It's super
relaxed. Yeah.
relaxed. He doesn't have, like when you're hitting a floater, right, with a stiff wrist and stiff fingers, right? That's not what we're trying for. This is like a top spin ball where we want to hit this with speed and power. So we want that loose arm. We want the hitting arm elbow at 90. We want the wrist and fingers relaxed, fingers spread, wrist relaxed. We want that whole hitting arm relaxed, right? Now, towards the end, as his arm starts to come up, his chest is going to turn first. That puts the big stretch in front of the right chest, the right shoulder, hitting arm, chest, and shoulder. You can't see his elbow very well, but if you could see from the side, his right elbow, his right thumb would have come down towards his right shoulder, creating that big stretch in the tricep muscles, the back of the upper arm, and then the turn of the hips, turn of the chest, straightening of the arm creates arm speed. The body creates the power, the shoulder and the arm deliver the power, the force, and the speed to the ball, right? Kelly, what am I missing there? Is that hopefully a visual to say, all right, elbow angle 90 degrees on the one as you draw back, external shoulder rotation, elbow angle still 90 degrees as you go elbow up to contact. Now we want that elbow inside of 90 degrees to get that quick stretch, that stretch and that shortening and that power from the tricep. What else is he doing here that I'm missing from an arm action or motion position?
Nothing really. I'd like to point out that he has that same angle where his shoulder line is at a nice angle as he goes from position to contact, which is really great, which we saw in the female athlete in throwing, right? But now it's in a volleyball oriented arm position.
Cool. So, Kelly, I'm going to turn off my screen share here, and maybe you'll show everybody. Let me
Oh,
get this. I can't talk and do this at the same time. Why don't you highlight yourself and why don't
alrighty.
you discuss or show visually so it's clear in everybody's mind, especially our hitter we've got on live online here tonight. Um, I don't see you. There you are. There you are. Cool. Show us the elbow position at contact. Tilt your spine for me and go ahead and get it contact. Okay. Cool.
Oops,
And
can you see
actually
me?
turn your body. Yep. Turn your body so we see. Yes. Cool. And actually turn faces so we can see that elbow relative to the ear. Nice. So the elbow is out now up to the ear, different than what we saw Ella at because she was throwing. This is one of the differences now that happens between throwing a ball and hitting a ball with volleyball. Now, the other thing is Kelly is standing up straight. Every video I showed you today is Matt Anderson, Ella, Emery, all the good hitters in the world are not straight up tall. If you do that once again, you're going to tend to, if you're an outside left, you're going to end up pulling balls out of balance on the other side of the court. Kelly, why are you tilted that way? Not just because I told you to, but what's the benefit of tilting your hips, your pelvis, your spine, right? And hitting that way?
Well, as I come up and get to this point, I now have I'm going to be able to create even more rotational force, but I've got my hitting arm over my left leg instead of out here outside of the ball. So as I come to swing, I'm going to tilt so that I can get that nice angle again and contact that ball right out in front of my right shoulder versus outside of my
Yeah,
shoulder.
cool. So you can better control direction, right? You can hit
Sure.
a line shot if you're an outside left. You can hit a deep
Yeah.
line shot down the deep one. You can hit a wrist away, thumb down, cut shot, whatever you want to call it, to the five, to the six, to the four, wherever you're going, right?
Right.
A couple things happen. The spine, because it's tilted, creates a really good angle. Once again, if we look at the arm, and if we didn't tilt the shoulders and the elbow came up, Kelly would tell you that's a terrible position to put the shoulder in to create
Yeah.
force and torque in. But if she simply tilts the shoulder, now she can get on top of the ball, which is a term we don't love, but you guys out there will love it. She can swing and take her elbow and her hand and arm through the ball down the line if that's where she wants to go and create all kinds of torque with her hitting arm shoulder in a great position to dramatically reduce the stress, the torque on the shoulder so she can hit harder, protect her shoulder. A lot of good things really happen with that. So, Kelly, what am I missing there?
Nothing. I think we should reiterate the fact that a lot of people get confused that if I want to hit cross court, I wouldn't be turning, that I would just stop my body and face that way. But if you look, if I want to hit, so this direction is my five, right? If
Yep.
I want to come up and I'm going to swing and the ball's coming across, I'm going to contact in that same point. I'm just going to finish my arm as my body turns towards my target, but my arm will still come through the ball, follow my body rotation, and I can still create that shot to the five,
Yep.
right?
Cool. Let's do one thing. Don't sit back down. I want you to show the hand and the wrist and what the thumb does on a line shot What's the natural pronation of the arm and hand and wrist? Let's let them see that. Cool. So as she completes her rotation, the thumb's going to go from thumb up to thumb down. That's the natural, normal movement of the hitting arm or any shoulder. That's the normal movement of it, right? So if you
Yes.
hit a line shot down the line, you're going to see the thumb coming down. If I go back to Matt Anderson and I show you that, if
You
you
can see
noticed
it.
it at the end, his thumb did the same thing. He pronated, he turned his shoulder into, in our world, internal rotation, right? Pronation. The thumb comes down. He's not hitting a wrist away, thumb down shot. He's just swinging with velocity and the structure of his shoulder, the bone, the way the muscles attach to the upper arm. That's what creates that normal thumb down pronation in the shoulder. Cool. Now,
Yeah.
Kelly, since you opened a bag of worms here, okay?
Uh-oh.
If you're hitting a wrist away, thumb down shot, let's talk about the velocity. Let's compare the velocity to hitting down the line with a good wrist away, thumb down action, right? That can be a fastball. So that's like talking about a major league pitcher who can throw 95, 100 plus miles an hour, right? They're throwing their fastball, right? We want really good mechanics on that throwing arm shoulder for that pitcher, right? When they start throwing curveballs, right? The curveball is not the normal action for the forearm, the elbow, and especially, right? It can put a lot of torque on the elbow and other places. It's not the same pronation mechanics. Now we're going to hit a cut shot, wrist away, thumb down. Do we teach athletes? Do we train athletes? Do we encourage them to hit a wrist away, thumb down, cut shot to the 5 zone, 6 zone, or a really nasty cut shot to the 4 with full velocity? And here's the answer: no.
No.
It's like an off speed pitch for a pitcher. A pitcher who only throws a fastball is actually pretty easy to hit. You get somebody that can turn on the other side, rotate, and get the barrel on the ball. If they make contact, that ball's gone because the ball's coming in with velocity. There's bat speed coming the other way. And if the ball's always coming in as a fastball, it's easier to get on that pitch and make it hit a bomb and go yard with it, right?
Yeah.
So they have off-speed pitches, curveballs, sliders, cuts, different pitches at different speeds that have different motion and action on them. That's what makes a really good major league pitcher who has a fastball but has other off-speed pitches and movements to go with it, makes them dangerous because you don't really know what's coming. Volleyball should be the same thing. We don't want just athletes to wind up, hit as hard as they can on every shot, and hit the same shot. We want them to be able to hit a wrist away cut to the 5 or to the 4, but we train them and teach them it's not 100% velocity or 90% velocity swing. It's 80%, it's 85, it might be even less than that. If it's going to the deep 5, 98% of the time, if it's hit well with any kind of pace, 70 or 80% velocity of that athlete, it's not coming back. It's really difficult to play that ball back there. And oftentimes the defender's not even in that position. If you're somebody especially that's shifted, if you're someone especially that's hit line a bunch of times, the 1 zone, the defense is shifting over and cheating over to try to take the line away. Oftentimes, the middle blocker, the pin blocker, they've taken away the line, the other side's open, and even the defenders a lot of times have shifted over. You can hit a ball with 70%, 80% speed for that hitter to the deep 5, it's not coming back probably 95% of the time, especially if it's going to go into the court. That's a score. We want the athletes to understand that you're not swinging as hard as you can on every swing. That is a recipe for shoulder and back problems. That's not sustainable long term, right?
For
Anything
sure.
I'm missing there, Kelly?
No, I think the interesting thing that people might not quite get is like when you were talking about the initial swing down the line, and we are talking about the shoulder, but if you really play with your arm a little bit, your forearm bones are set up in a way that they actually like roll over the top of each other after like I come through in contact, and that is going to naturally bring that wrist and forearm into that thumb down position. When we're trying to do that really hard cut shot to the 4, we're actually creating more internal rotation of the shoulder joint or like closing the shoulder joint into a tight position. And that is not the best position for the shoulder to be in under any kind of tension, but not with a lot of speed for sure, with a lot of velocity. So I
Cool.
think it's important to understand. I know it's hard because not everybody is a biomechanist or understands anatomy, but we're actually made to hit the ball and have our hand naturally go. But when we're forcing it hard to get to that four shot, that's a completely different mechanical situation.
Cool. Let's add two things to what you just said. It was really good. On a one zone shot, left side hitter hitting the line right down the one zone. That once again, we're talking about the body's turning, the hand and arm are coming down and through the ball to the target, like wherever you want the ball to hit on the deep one zone, right? And then as you
Right.
saw with Ella when we were doing arm speed training with her, her right arm went to where? Her left hip. That's what every major league pitcher does, probably with 99.9% of every pitch they throw, because the muscles on the backside of the shoulder blade, the lats, even off for a right-handed hitter, the left side of the low back, the left butt muscle, the left hamstring, all those muscles and elastic tissues, the fascia, are stretching to slow this arm down. And they're stretching on the back side of the body because the muscles on the front side created the velocity. Slowing the arm down happens by the muscles and elastic tissues, the fascia on the backside of the body. And the safest way to do that in terms of the shoulder to reduce the risk for pain or injury to that throwing arm shoulder is to let the arm go through the target and then drop it to your left hip. In volleyball world, once again, the old school way was I'm going to swing. And I think we talked about that yesterday on a Zoom call with a couple of high school coaches. You guys call it the catch the quarter drill or catch the dime drill, right? Where the arm never goes on or goes across the body. Talk to me about, is this a good position to slow the arm down in? I don't care
No.
what you're doing, catching quarters, throwing
No.
baseballs, hitting volleyballs, and why?
Because you're not using the larger muscles on the backside of your body to help decelerate your arm that's going through space fast, right? You're solely using actually more your bicep and your biceps tendon to try to control the speed of your arm at the end. It's a recipe for an injury. We know, like I
Yeah.
know you know this, baseball, the where they get their injury is in the deceleration phase, not speeding up to throw the ball, right? And the same thing happens in volleyball.
Gotcha. And so let's talk about something. We've got a few more minutes. You've opened a can of worms. Here's your bicep muscle, right? Here's your guns. It attaches across into the forearm and then it goes up into the shoulder. And the point I want to talk about is what tends to happen is if my arm is, I'm throwing a ball, right, with speed and velocity, so my triceps firing, it's straightening that elbow quick, the hand's going out there. It is now putting a stretch on what muscle? Bicep, right? And one of the common injuries or tears to a hitting arm shoulder for volleyball is called a what kind of tear?
Supraspinatus or biceps
Yeah,
tendon.
or a slap tear, right?
Yeah,
So
slap
the,
tear. Yeah.
the biceps is what's happening to it when this arm's going out there and elongating fast and hard and not being able to slow the arm
Mm.
down by using the muscles back there. We're putting an inordinary amount, an extraordinary amount of stress on the bicep to slow it down. So oftentimes you get pain on the front of the shoulder, could be numerous things, that's your world. But one of the things I'll suggest is it might be the biceps tendon getting inflamed and
Hmm.
starting to have some stress and strain that doesn't need to be happening like that. So, this whole motion of swinging over here, catching the quarter, never letting the throwing arm go across the body, like you said, it's not using all the big muscles and all the elastic tissues from behind my right upper arm across my body into my left buttock, left hamstring, left thigh. All those muscles will help slow the arm down safely because it's like a bunch of big, powerful motors slowing the arm down. When I do this,
Right.
you don't have any of that. You've got some small muscles in there. It creates a lot of stress, a lot of strain on the hitting arm shoulder, right? Okay, so that's being said, and we know that. Then why do we teach a cut shot with rotation and tell the athletes to hit a wrist away cut down cut shot to the five or to the four? What arm action are we teaching them? Wrist away, thumb down. But now this arm is not finishing on the left side of the body for right-hander. It's finishing on the right side, right?
Right.
Well, it's a loaded question. The answer is because we've told them it's not a full swing. You got to back off the velocity of this swing so you can still hit it hard, 99% of those balls are not coming back. If you can get it in the court, it's scoring, right? 99% of the time. But we're creating the power by turning the body, opening the chest, closing the hips, closing. We're doing that rotation. We still want them to rotate. And then even the arms, even though the arm's going over to the deep five or the four, that's why we're saying, hey, back that off to a 70% shot, 80% maybe max, because that arm's going to stop on the right side of the body, right? So that's why we say don't make it a full speed, because there is more risk on a wrist away cut shot, thumb down cut shot over there, because the follow through doesn't have the big muscles, the elastic tissues on the back to help slow that arm down. So put that shot in your arsenal. Just learn as a hitter, you're not swinging as hard as you can. We don't ever tell the athletes to swing as hard as they can, but it's not a 85, 90, 95, 100% swing when you really need a point. Good mechanics, wrist away, thumb down, hit it to your zone, because most of the time it's not coming back. Makes sense? What am I
Yeah, for
missing?
sure.
Anything else?
No, it's all good.
Cool. Let's go back to our athlete. Let's ask her if she has any questions, if we've just completely confused her and geeked on her, or if she actually has any questions now that she might want to ask.
All right. She has her mom's name on
Cool. Well, maybe mom will
so
ask a question.
yeah, Shruti, do you guys have any questions for from what you watched today? They might be quiet.
No, I think I got them all answered from this.
You did? Okay, good. Good. Did
Cool.
you learn something new?
Yeah, I did. I think I learned a lot about like the cut shot and like how to like not put a lot of like power behind it, but like just that motion will like doesn't need a lot of power.
But
Yeah,
we still
great.
want you to rotate, right? We still want you to open your chest to the right side, and we still want you to close your hips to the left antenna. We still want the rotation of the body, but we're just going to back way off of the speed and the forces and torques on this hitting arm shoulder when you make that shot. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
All
does.
right, we're going to ask you a test question, right?
Mhm.
And if you don't get this right, you don't get dinner tonight, right? So, mom, you got to go along with us here. What angle should your elbow be at as you open your chest to the right sideline? Are you a right-handed hitter or left?
Right-handed.
Cool. So as for you as a right-handed hitter, as you turn your chest to the right sideline and the arm comes back, the hitting arm elbow, your right elbow should be at what angle as you go and draw or open your chest to the right?
90 degrees.
You got it. Cool. Second question for you. As your hitting arm goes up into external rotation, what should the elbow angle be?
90 degrees.
Nice, cool. One more question. Actually, there's going to be two. As your elbow comes up next to your ear and your hand, before your hand starts going up to contact with the ball, is your elbow still at 90 degrees?
No.
Awesome. Cool. You will hit harder if you follow those instructions. But if you're not paying attention to that, because I can't tell you at the clinic I was at this weekend how many times I went and grabbed arms nicely, gently, right, and said, relax, because they're so tense trying to hold all this stuff up. And there's so much tension. It's like, there's no way you could turn and almost hit a ball. They're so tense. They're trying so hard. It's like, relax, make this thing flop. We're not hitting a floater with a stiff wrist. We want arm speed. We want whip. We want a loose arm. We want our body to turn fast, create this whip. And then, yeah, our arm and chest and shoulder, those muscles are going to work, but they're going to work at the right time and in the right way. But we want this relaxed position, right? As you draw back. So is my wrist pretty good right in this position here?
Yes.
Cool. And as I go up into external rotation, does my wrist still need to be relaxed?
Yeah.
Cool. And as I go up to the three, elbow goes up and we go to contact, is the wrist still relaxed? And the
Yes.
fingers? Awesome. Cool. If you will train yourself when you go hit balls, the next time you do it and each time you do it, relax your arm, relax your wrist, relax your fingers. If you're trying to hit a spinner ball, if you're trying to hit a ball with velocity, not a floater, right? Because with a floater, you are going to have a stiff wrist, right? Does that all make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Cool. You learned a lot more than
Awesome.
you gave yourself credit for. Great job listening. Everybody out there, if you want further information about Powercore 360, our camps, our clinics, our online training, anything, go to powercore360.com. If you've got a question, you can go to info@powercore360.com and send an email there. This will post on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. What else am I missing? YouTube, right? It's live right now on all those platforms. There'll be a link that will post up on those, and you should be able to get to our website and get further information if you need it. Thanks everybody for joining. Athlete, thank you for joining. We appreciate you. And if anybody else has any questions, go on, jump on our school platform where you get a lot of information. Send us some swings. Let us analyze your swing. If you're live, we'll help you with that. So appreciate everybody's time. We'll see you guys soon. Thank